Dr.ROAD, the author of E-Bike Master Books. Today, I'd like to introduce you to the newly released DM01 mid-motor conversion kit for electric bikes. This motor is impressive with its 1000 watt output and affordable price, all while supporting torque sensor mode. I'll show you how to install and use this motor perfectly, discuss its pros and cons, share my riding impressions, and provide all the information you need for repair and maintenance. First, we'll disassemble the motor to prepare for basic maintenance. Using a hex wrench, I remove the motor mount bracket. By loosening the bolts on the drive side, we can open the pinion gear cover. A high viscosity white grease is used here. If you need to replace the grease, use Mobile 28 synthetic grease. Insert a sturdy flathead screwdriver into this gap and lift it up. You can now remove the rubber oil seal. Next, use snap ring pliers to remove the snap ring, allowing you to separate the axle. This will reveal the components related to the pedal assist sensor. Here, you'll find a ratchet. You can remove this by taking off the snap ring. If the rider's leg power is not being transferred, you'll need to replace it. One side detects cadence, while the other side senses the rider's leg torque. Reassemble the motor in the reverse order of disassembly. Now, let's open the controller cover. This is the pedal assist sensor. Another connector you see here is the Hall sensor connector. Gently pull the connector to disconnect it easily. Now, let's remove the bolts on the yellow, blue, and green cables, visible in this gap. This will allow you to remove the controller. By loosening these two bolts, you can separate the motor core. Inside, there are two washers. During disassembly, one washer on the left stuck to the magnet. Use tweezers to remove it and reinstall it in the right arrow position. The motor rotor has been removed. By loosening these three bolts, you can access the nylon gear. Since the bolt heads are prone to damage, use an impact wrench or a perfectly fitting screwdriver. Gently tap it with a urethane hammer to remove the cover. Like the Bafang motor, this cover also uses bearings. You may need to tap the nylon gear lightly to make it easier to remove. We've gone over the basic motor disassembly. The maintenance method for this motor is almost identical to the Bafang motor. To reassemble the motor, simply follow the disassembly steps in reverse order. However, be careful not to cut the wires when reassembling the motor cover. First, use a hex wrench to remove the crank arm installed on the bicycle. The removal method for crank arms is the same for other motor kits or regular bicycles. Extend the head of the crank arm remover tool before using it. Then, secure it to the crank arm. Since the threads can be easily damaged, insert it smoothly and carefully. Next, tighten the remover tool's head to separate the crank arm. To reuse the pedals, use a pedal wrench to remove them. A regular wrench is too thick and won't work, so be cautious. Next, you need to remove the bottom bracket. First, Prepare a bottom bracket remover that matches the specifications. If it's difficult to remove, as it often is with used bicycles, it's a good idea to heat the bottom bracket shell with a torch. As you can see, this allows for easy removal with minimal effort. Now for the right drive side. If it's hard to loosen, use your body weight to help. The bottom bracket has been removed. Now, we can install the motor. First, install the motor into the bottom bracket of the bike and connect the motor's e-bus cable connector. Attach the motor mount adapter and tighten the two bolts. To protect the frame, apply a strong, rubber-like silicone tape to the down tube. Tighten the motor mount bracket bolts to secure the motor in place. Apply grease to the threads and tighten the lock ring. Use a rubber mallet to secure the lock ring with a lock ring wrench. Hand tighten the lock ring plastic cover. Just like pedals, crank arms are left and right specific, so be careful when installing them. To prevent rust, always apply grease when installing the pedals. First, attach the chainring, apply grease, and secure the lock ring. Now, install the right crank arm and pedal. While pulling the rear derailleur, place the chain onto the chainring. If you have a front derailleur, use a chain tool to disconnect and reconnect the chain. For instructions on how to use the chain tool, please check the video on our bulletin board. Shift sensor. The power cutoff sensor is optional. If you decide not to use it, cutting the wire is a good idea. To install the power cutoff sensor, first, replace the rear derailleur cable. Fully tighten the rear derailleur barrel. Cut the middle of the rear derailleur cable housing. For instructions on replacing the shifter cable, check the video link on our bulletin board. Pass the new shift cable through. Attach the shift cable housing caps. Pass the new inner shift cable through the shift cable sensor. Attach the shift cable housing cap on the other side. Secure the inner shifter cable to the rear derailleur. For detailed rear derailleur adjustments, use using the barrel, check the video link on our bulletin board. Finally, connect the shift sensor connector to the motor connector. To install the speed sensor, attach the magnet to a spoke. Set the distance between the speed sensor magnet and the sensor to less than 5 millimeters. Then tighten the bolt to secure it. Use a 5 millimeters cable tie to secure it to the bike. Cut off any excess cable. Ensure the distance between the magnet and the speed sensor is less than 5 millimeters. Connect the speed sensor connector and link the motor and battery using the XT60 connector. If you don't use the provided thumb throttle and opt for another throttle, it won't work. I will be using a full grip throttle, so I'll cut the middle of the existing connector cable. Although the 3-pin waterproof throttle connectors look the same, they are not compatible with Bafang products. This is due to the different positions of the connector electrodes. Cut the cable in the middle and change the wire colors until the throttle works correctly. Replace the throttle with the full grip version and check that it works properly. If connected correctly, solder the wires together and insulate the cables. The brake sensor connector also has different pin polarity compared to Bafang products. Therefore, if you want to use Bafang brakes or magnetic sensors sold online, you'll need to rewire the connections. Once the wires are connected correctly, you can verify sensor operation on the monitor. Now that all the connectors are linked, let's tidy up the cables. Check that the motor power cuts off properly when the brake is applied. Since the motor can generate high torque, I prepared epoxy clay. Fill the gaps with a little bit of clay. Also, add a bit of clay to the bottom part. If you need to remove the motor for maintenance, simply use a screwdriver and hammer to tap the clay, making it easy to separate. To access the motor system settings, hold down the power key and the up arrow button simultaneously. The default password is 1234. Application, level count, cruise function, speed and power. You can adjust the speed and power according to the power level. Battery. Enter the nominal voltage of the battery pack. By default, you can choose between 48 volts and 51 volts battery packs. Low cut voltage. Set the low voltage power cutoff. For a 48 volts battery pack, we recommend setting it to around 38 volts. For a 51 volts battery, 41 volts is a good setting. Controller. The firmware version that supports 3 modes, Eco, City, and Sport, allows you to set the controller output amperage. Other firmware versions only support M1 and M2 modes, so you may leave these settings unchanged. Since there's no particular reason to change other controller settings, we'll skip them. In the unit settings, you can choose to display and set the speed in either kilometers or miles. Rim size. Enter the size of your bicycle rim. You can set the monitor light to turn on automatically and configure the power off settings. In the device section, you can adjust the response time or delay for various sensors. A key setting here is the power cutoff time for the shift sensor. These are the main 3 settings you need to configure: rim size, battery voltage, and low voltage power cutoff. When you turn on the monitor and press the power button several times in the on state, you can see Thetis mode. Currently, it's possible to monitor the status of the electric bicycle very detailedly. Not only the current battery voltage, but also the voltage changes of various device sensors, including the throttle, can be detected. Battery status display, operation time, throttle voltage, pedal assist rotation count, torque sensor voltage, gear sensor, speed sensor, brake sensor operation. Status can also be checked. Temperature, controller temperature, motor temperature display is also possible. It's amazing. You can easily check very important information necessary for motor diagnosis like this. The monitor and motor can be updated using the provided USB connector and power adapter. There are two main firmware versions. There's a version that supports both pedal assist M, 1M2 torque sensor mode, and cadence, distinguishing between two modes. While supporting only torque sensor mode, it's possible to adjust 3 assist characteristics according to Echo, city and sport situations. In my experience driving it, the torque sensor, which detects human leg power, showed a very attractive bike-like feel, and especially, the affordable price was very appealing, especially in high mountain rides. The torque sensor motor made it very easy to control the bicycle with just pedaling. Because it has bicycle-like riding characteristics in mountain rides, I could have a very enjoyable and dynamic ride. Both on flat and mountain rides, it felt very good to have a sense of unity between the motor and human power. Comparing it to the competing model, the Bafang BBS series, the Bafang motor allowed for comfortable rides on flat terrain without exerting much leg power. Especially the quick response of the throttle and smooth motor rotation made the Bafang BBS series easier, faster, and superior. And there's also the advantage of being easy to find parts for repairs. If you need precise mountain riding focused on pedaling, TOSEVEN motor would be good. And if you want convenient and speedy riding like a motorcycle, Bafang motor would be a good choice. The Electric Bicycle Master Books series on Amazon gathers all the manufacturing and maintenance information about electric bicycles and bikes. Subscriptions and likes clicked would be a great help in producing videos. It was author Huang and Quan from Electric Bicycle Master Books. Thank you for watching.